Welcome to my YouTube channel, Conversations from the Heart. If you have not yet subscribed, I hope that after hearing this story, you will. Today, I am sharing a story about something called cellular memory transfer that impacted my life in such a deep way that it changed the way I felt about organ donation. Cellular memory transfer, for those of you who may not know what it is the transfer of memory from a deceased person to the recipient in the cells of the organ. It is because of stories like this one and many of the others that I have researched that make me an advocate for organ donation. But I am not here to convince you. I'm simply here to share one of the most unbelievable stories that hopefully will sway you to have a change of heart. Prior to the late 1960s, science viewed the heart as a simple pump machine whose function was to keep you alive and to pump blood and nothing more. But in the mid-80s, this view began to change. Science began to recognize that the heart has an intelligence of its own, capable of influencing and directing our emotions, morality, and decisions. As heart transplants became more successful in the late 70s and 80s, there had been perplexing reports of organ receivers claiming complete personality changes after receiving a heart. Recipients reported changes in food preferences, smells, taste, emotions, allergies, handwriting, talents, and even memories and their dreams of previous lives. As doctors listened to their patients, they dismissed the allegations as purely coincidental. In fact, some doctors went as far as to tell the patients that it was probably a side effect of the medication they were taking. But as more organ receivers from all over the world continue to claim that they seem to have inherited the memory, the traits, and emotions of their deceased donors, the scientific community had no choice but to reconsider. Now, is it possible that the heart transplanted into someone else carries the memories of their donor? Well, the following story will indicate that indeed it does. Now I'm going to warn you, this story may leave you skeptical because it did the same for me when I first heard about it until I had the opportunity to verify its validity. This case was researched and documented by Dr. Purcell from the University of Vienna, which is an authority in cellular memory transfer. It was also researched and documented by Professor Dr. Gary Schwartz. This is the incredible story of an 8-year-old girl from a small town in the Midwest who received the heart of a 10-year-old girl. The transplant was successful, but almost immediately the little girl began to have a recurring dream, more like night terrors. And the nightmares were frequent enough that it concerned her parents. They brought her to her doctor, and he recognized that it was out of the realm of his expertise and recommended that she sees a psychiatrist. When the little girl had the opportunity to tell the psychiatrist what she sees in the dream, he tells the parents that this is not a typical dream, but it has all the characteristics of a memory. The question is, whose memory was this little girl having night after night? A forensic artist was called, and the little girl began recounting her dream. How alone, running through the woods late at night, she was assaulted by a man who at the moment of killing her, whispers some words to her. Based on the little girl's details, the forensic artist drew a sketch that was later circulated by the authorities. Shortly after, the authorities found a man matching the description. When the man was brought in for questioning, he quickly broke down, admitting to the killing of the 10-year-old girl. But here is the freaky part. When questioned about the details, the man recounted to the police the very words that the little girl had told police prior that were revealed to her in her dream. Based on that evidence, the man was convicted, sentenced, and is serving time in prison for the murder of the little girl. Now, this case was solved only because the memories of the little girl were preserved in the cells of her heart that were now in the body of the new recipient. When I first heard of the story, I was at a conference on how to bridge science with spirituality, and the speaker, Greg Braden, used it to illustrate how powerful our hearts are and how they have an intelligence of their own. This was also confirmed by astonishing discovery by a group of scientists led by Dr. Andrew R. Moore in Montreal, Canada, that shook the skeptic scientific community, forcing them to finally re-examine the way they thought about the heart and the possibility of cellular memory transfer. In 1991, Dr. Moore discovered that the heart had an intrinsic nervous system of its own with a concentration of 40,000 specialized cells called sensory neurites. Now, what's so important about these cells, you may be wondering? Well, these cells are identical to the cells found in our brain, but they are in our hearts. And these cells learn, think, feel, and behave completely independent than our brain. And why am I telling you this? Because this helps us understand why often heart transplant receivers claim to have the memories and to even have personality changes to match that of their donors. And for me, this was very comforting to know that in some way my heart will go on in the body of someone else, and impacted me in such a way that I have instructed my family that at the time of donating my organs, they must ask who the recipient of my heart will be. And I told my girls to go and meet the person and stay close to the person because my heart will remember them. Every 10 minutes, a person is added to the nation's organ transplant waiting list. Sadly, about 8,000 people die each year waiting for a heart. That's 22 people a day, almost a person an hour, because the organs they need are not donated on time. In September of 2021, there were 3,500 people waiting for a heart in the US alone. Every donor can save up to 8 lives. Hopefully, science and technology will continue to evolve to the point where we may live in a society like in the movie Bicentennial Man, and artificial organs are widely available so that people don't die waiting for an organ. But till then, maybe you too can consider saving a life. After all, what better gift is there than the gift of life? To me, it was an easy decision. I'll see you on the next episode of Conversations from the Heart.